We were just talking about our work besties. Guess who you are?
Mine left me.
I'm sorry.
I'm like really depressed about it, but yeah.
Yeah, I would be really sad.
Yeah. And today I like thought about it when I was in the office, and then I just got even more sad. I don't even know. Like, I didn't realize I was so attached.
The work friends are sneaky. Like,
Yeah.
you don't realize that you're so attached.
Well, you see your work friends like all the time.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I never even talk about my personal life, yet I feel attached.
I can't relate to that.
Yeah.
But
Well, like, the entire office didn't know I dated Audie for like 12 months.
That's insane.
yeah, that's so insane.
Yeah. Versus, like, your people will know about your situationship, so.
They might. Anyway.
Okay, welcome back to Get the Check. I'm Maya.
I'm Monica.
I'm Priya.
And today we have a fun lineup. So this one is less AI focused. Or, sorry, scratch that. We changed our last story to be a little AI
Grammarly
focused.
is also
There-
AI
it's-
focused.
There's just one consumer story.
Okay. Can't get away from AI. So we're covering Grammarly's recent funding of $1 billion, the acquisition of Rhode. E.l.f. acquired Rhode, which is a makeup company started by Hailey Bieber. And finally, we're covering the sector of AI-enabled roll-ups and this new recent trend that everyone's been talking about on Twitter. Sorry, X. I'm a boomer. Oh my God.
So Grammarly announced $1 billion in non-dilutive funding from General Catalyst, and this came from their customer value fund.
Yeah, it basically is an alternative financing strategy that lends capital, but it's secured by the company's recurring revenue. So you can use this capital basically for your CAC. So you can use it for marketing dollars. And then when that turns back into revenue for the company, like an annual subscription, the fund will take a pretty large cut of that. But then what that does is it frees up your normal venture capital funding for other things like mergers and acquisitions. But yeah.
It's kind of like when Mr. Wonderful does deals on Shark Tank and he's like, I'll take a percent of your revenue until I get my money back.
Yeah, and General Catalyst is known for doing this. They did this with Lemonade, where Lemonade borrowed up to 80% of their planned CAC, and then General Catalyst took 80% of new customer revenue until the
80%?
Yeah, 80% of like what they planned to do. Because like at this, once you're big enough, like your marketing spend is actually underwritable. Because if you just spend this much more money, you will get that much more revenue. It's like pretty predictable within a certain range.
And it's also capped. Like it's 80% until a certain amount.
Yeah, until they get paid back.
Yeah, so
I don't know if it's till they get paid back, but it's like whatever amount they've agreed
until they
on.
get a percentage back.
it's specifically in the Lemonade one, it's until the lower of either 16% internal rate of return or 1.4x of the capital that they took. So whichever the first is reached. And then beyond that, whatever revenue that they get is Lemonade's. So this really works for like later stage and growth stage startups who don't want to dilute their funding anymore, probably can't raise at a better valuation than what they already have, but they need the capital. And their business is like relatively stable and profitable, but maybe they might not be in a situation where they want to IPO under the current landscape. That makes sense for Grammarly. Like they were valued at $13 billion in the peak of like zero interest days, and they would not get near that kind of valuation today if they were to raise money.
Yeah.
So it's actually the best move that they could have done. And I actually don't think it should be even frowned upon.
I don't think it is frowned upon.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it makes sense, and it's just another way that they can get more capital and, like, continue to grow. Mm-hmm. With the announcement, they also said that they have 40 million daily active users and 700 million in ARR, which I know when me and Maya were talking about this, we were like, what? How did they get 700 million in ARR?
Yeah, and I was actually so confused by this, too. So in 224, there was an estimate that they were making... Sorry, 224. Oh, my God, that was really bad. Okay, so back in 2024, their ARR was at 250, which is a third of what their estimated ARR is right now. Yeah. And part of it can be attributed to Coda, which is the company that they just acquired in 2024. But Coda's ARR was also only at 40 million, so I actually don't even know.
I saw that.
Yeah, I don't even know how they reached 700. And I don't think it's fake. They are growing. Like, it would make sense because their 2022 jumped to 2023. I think they 2x'd revenue. They didn't 2x from 2023 to 2024, but it's possible they did it again. And then with Coda and upselling Coda's customers, it's possible that they like get to 700.
They also have like really big logos. Like they have like Atlassian, Expedia, Zoom, Databricks, BlackRock. Like, I guess.
So you think it's like internal growth of their customers too.
I'm sure it is new logos. I'm not sure what the split is,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess like I didn't realize that those types of logos were had like a paid subscription to Grammarly, because like no company I've ever been at has had.
Well, they
a
also
Grammarly
could be
account.
using Coda if
Yeah.
they're new. Because like
This was
Coda is basically
February
just like a Notion competitor.
2024.
Yeah,
So I think it was before.
but it's also, I mean, Databricks has grown, right? So it's possible that the number of seats on Databricks has grown, and therefore, like, your contract size is bigger for the next year.
Yeah.
So it's probably, like, if they're partnered with the right companies that are hiring at insane growth, like, insane rates, then they might be also growing within their own customers, which is beneficial because I feel like they pay per seat.
Yeah. I know if you just like, if you're a consumer and you get it, it's between $12 and $30 for the premium version. So I'm sure there's like some deal on that if you're an enterprise, but it's something like that. But what's weird for me is the timing with ChatGPT, just because I feel like a lot of things you can just get from that, and everyone has an enterprise ChatGPT license.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
it's interesting to me that they were able to grow that much alongside the rise of tools like that.
Yeah, I think, so that was like kind of an identity crisis that they had when LLMs made grammar checking more accessible than your normal grammar checking software. I saw someone post on Reddit that the difference, though, is Grammarly is deterministic and fast. So because they have many years of computational linguistics research, their like Grammarly's engine is actually quite complex, and it's always giving you very consistent, fast feedback versus like a ChatGPT feels like a ChatGPT takes a lot longer.
It does, yeah.
And it's like it's doing more. It's like restructuring your entire kind of format. It also
I know, it
feels
actually pisses me off when it does that.
it also feels very GPT-esque.
Yeah.
So I think like it obviously when GPT came out, it was like an instant like, oh my God, Grammarly is gonna die type of thing. But then when you actually use the two, it feels very different.
But I think our workflows are going to change too, because
Yeah,
like
that makes sense.
I think as we go towards more like AI enabled, you aren't even writing anything from scratch and you start by prompting, as opposed to Grammarly where it is really good at what you're talking about to like correct emails and correct your current writing.
I see what you're saying about the prompting thing. Like, I think right now, the chatbot type of interface doesn't necessarily make sense for like editing writing. And maybe in the future, if most writing is like starts with a prompt, then it is different. But I also think we're like very far away from that. Like, at least like at work, I still like write things from scratch all the time, and then usually have ChatGPT look at it after if it's like external communication. And I actually think that's where like Grammarly, at least right now, is kind of strong, because they also have their like Grammarly Go product where you can have like for enterprise customers, you can have like a style guide and even like a tone guide. Managers can look at like their team's tones and see if like someone's using a different tone. So like if you have like 10 sales reps that are communicating and like one person's using a way more casual tone, it'll like tell the manager that.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, like their enterprise product has like style guides and like way more than just like the consumer product we might have seen where it like highlights something. And I think that ChatGPT is like very far from offering that. They might not even ever, because that's like clearly the application layer.
I think what it shows is just like the constant battle of like, will product and taste win out over just a more plain, simple, all you can do wrapper like GPT or like a chatbot. And it seems like if Grammarly is still growing at an insane rate, like there is reason to believe that they can stay in this race and that they're not a threat. Like General Catalyst fully underwrote them and was like, yeah, sure, here's $1 billion. Like that's not a small amount of money to give out, especially for a firm like GC.
Coda is also basically like a Notion competitor, so they're trying to create a product that like integrates with like all aspects of your like company. Like for example, like if you change the way your company is referred to or something like that, you could like just like it's almost like Command F replace all.
Yeah. And I think the bigger thing with the Coda acquisition is, one, it showed that they're trying to make more of a product suite, but they're actually not going to bring it in together. Like they're not going to resurface Coda and try to make it Grammarly-esque or like change the branding. Like they're going to treat them as individual run companies, but still probably offer some package deal. But the second thing is they put Coda's CEO in charge of Grammarly. And I think that this was intentional because, I mean, if you look at like when he came into charge and like the difference in revenue, like it seems like it's doing well. And he also has like a very high reputation in the Valley because he was the CPO and CTO of YouTube for like 10 years during its huge growth phase.
I know, I was stalking his LinkedIn and I was like, oh my God. This is
yeah.
crazy.
Like our YouTube days was defined by this guy.
They do like keep changing who their CEO is though, because before it was like they had just changed it to another guy.
Well, Grammarly's been around since 2009, and it was bootstrapped until it's like first running in 2017, and then started raising a lot more money like in the 2020s.
But like post their whole like AI crash out, I think they changed it to someone else.
Oh, really?
Wait, what's the name of the current CEO?
Shashir. Yeah.
But they changed it to Rahul like after their whole AI thing, and
then switched him out again.
And then switched him out after. And Rahul was previously the global head of product. And he also had like, I think he was like part of the group that started like Google Chrome. Like he also has a really impressive background. And I listened to like his interview, and he was basically like the first CEO that was supposed to be like AI first, and like,
and that was before the Kodak was.
Yeah, and they like kind of referred to him as like reinventing the company and like even like refounding the company. So like the way they were talking about him definitely did not give the impression that it was going to be like
someone
a year-long
new,
stint. Yeah. So like it is interesting to me that they then like switched it out again.
It could have also just had to do with like politics with Coda.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
it also could
acquiring
just be like the
Kodak.
deal of the acquisition. Yeah.
Well, it seems pretty obvious that they're going to go after like a Google Workspace approach where they have like many tools. So we see like Coda, which is like a Notion competitor, Grammarly, which is like kind of a grammar checking software. Any bets on what would come next?
Well, they did say that with the funding, they're reportedly planning to build more communication-based tools and host third-party tools on their platform.
Interesting.
I feel like because they're trying to be more like Notion, they could maybe try to go into like the email and calendar space, because that's what Notion has been going after. Like we talked to Andrew recently when he was like launching Notion Mail, and I feel like that's something that they could potentially go after too, considering they're trying to compete with Google and be this like AI productivity suite, which is basically pretty in line with what Notion's doing as well.
Yeah.
I couldn't see them having like their own email desktop app, but I could see them having like an email helper. I will say, like, I personally find Grammarly extremely annoying. Like the little icon.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever used it, but it's always just like in the wrong place, and like it underlines a bunch of things that I like don't mean to change. So I feel like they could also make like more of a customized approach. Like for example, for like me personally, if like a word is misspelled or something, I like definitely want to be alerted about that. But if it's like a comma that like maybe 70% of people would put there and like 30% of people wouldn't, like I don't need you to like underline my whole sentence in red, and like it's just annoying.
I think like their first strategy was purely the individual play, like the consumer play, and a lot of their early revenue was weighted towards the individual, and I think they're trying to diversify away from that. So maybe a lot of the features that you're frustrated by, you wouldn't be if you had like the enterprise plan. I don't know, but over time, like their pie has shifted towards enterprise, and now it's 40%. But then compared to Notion sits I think at 50-50 between enterprise and individual, but I think the way any of these like workplace products scale, like if you ever want to be a Google that makes like $16 billion a year, like you have to shift completely towards enterprise, and that comes with like an entire suite of things that you can do. And then like you said, when you have an entire suite, they all work together, like how a calendar invite comes into your Gmail and it like just like seamlessly kind of works. So I wouldn't be too worried about their product as long as they have a good product person leading the next phase of their growth.
Yeah, there's also like verticals that Google or like Notion and stuff are not like as specialized in, that Grammarly actually is really good for. Like even the education use case, like I know we recently covered education in depth like on the podcast, and a lot of actually like universities are like customers of Grammarly because they have like a paraphrasing tool, they have an automatic citation tool, and they're trying to build like AI that's friendly with education versus like ChatGPT, which is like unfriendly. And like a lot of like schools and stuff have ChatGPT blocked, but they use Grammarly.
Oh,
I
have
didn't even
ChatGPT
realize
blocked?
Yeah, a ton of schools have ChatGPT blocked.
Wait, that's how?
Wait, like I have friends whose work have ChatGPT blocked.
Is it because
that makes sense.
Is it because it's not censored?
Or like
no, it doesn't have
because people use it to cheat. Like my high school had like all of the summary sites and like Chegg and stuff was all blocked.
Oh, like on your Wi-Fi, but like you can still use it on your computer.
Well, schools can block websites on like their own computers.
Oh, obviously on their computers, but like
I mean, yeah,
no
like,
one uses
kids-
school computers.
Wait, people do.
When they're like in school.
Yeah.
Oh, we never have.
Like you bought your own computer?
Yeah.
Oh, that's like a private.
Yeah. I mean, I use my own computer too, but like you definitely also had a school
computer too. Yeah, I do see the enterprise use case. Do either of you think that like ChatGPT will kill Grammarly? Because I feel like when we originally talked about this, we had like a more pessimistic take than after we researched it.
I don't think so, because if you look at Notion's revenue, they're at like 400 million in 2024. They could obviously have doubled, but it seems like these products are sticky. Like it's really hard to cancel your contract once you have it. And so unless companies are super, super aggressive, like at least enterprises are super, super aggressive about canceling subscriptions, it's really hard for a subscription-based product to die. Like I haven't seen any subscription product die like that fast that it would be completely wiped out. I think the bigger question is like, is it going to grow at the rate that it should? And are they going to hold up to their like $13 billion valuation? Because at some point they're going to have to deliver returns to the investors.
I feel like it depends on their Coda / like AI enabled productivity suite and how that goes, because I think that over time I could see just the like original Grammarly product dying off over time, like over a longer period of time. But if they're able to get like an actual stronghold in the AI productivity space, I think they could continue on and like be successful.
Yeah. Like another example is literally Asana. Like everyone talks about how Asana is doing bad, but then if you look at their revenue, they just basically have flatlined between 2024 and 2025, which isn't like the
worst thing.
Yeah, obviously like zero growth is really, really bad. Like you should be at least hitting like a 6 to 7% growth rate, but I don't know, like I don't think it's easy to kill businesses like this. It also just comes down to like it's all about product and taste. Like it's the reason why Cursor exists. It's the reason why Windsurf like got bought for $3 billion. Like sure, we can have LLM powered apps, but the actual app needs to look, feel, and work well. But yeah, I'm excited to see if our prediction comes true and if they do acquire something else.
Moving on to Hailey Bieber.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay. Hailey. I personally am a Selena fan, but I'm willing to talk about your deal on our pod because I think it's quite interesting.
Wait, Hailey needed a win, guys.
She did. Honestly, I feel really bad for her. Like, Justin really does look like he's on coke.
He's on something.
Or like Fent or whatever it is. Like,
yeah, his Instagram. I guess like I feel like so our listeners like wouldn't know about this.
I
think they would.
I think they would.
Yeah.
Basically, like he had this caption on her Vogue cover that was like, I told her she'd never make it.
Yeah, I saw that.
Sad.
And then he was like, unfortunately, I was proven wrong. Like, why'd you say unfortunately?
Yeah, and then did you see that like a bunch of years ago that Kendall had a Vogue cover?
Yeah.
And he was like, you look beautiful, Kenny, or something like that. So sad.
There's just like no way she's happy, right?
No, there's like no way.
There's no way. Wait, you know what I was thinking about? That's like kind of like the irony of the world is that like the woman dating like the most like lusted over guy in like our entire generation is like so clearly unhappy, and it's just like playing out on the world stage.
Yeah, and like
That's
also the
crazy.
fact that this was all she wanted.
Yeah.
Like they could have everything, but they have nothing. Or not that they have nothing, but
money
it's like
doesn't buy it all.
yeah,
Money
it's
does
actually
not.
like crazy. But I feel like she is like the it girl of like right now, which like brings us to Rhode. So after only 3 years of Rhode, which is a skincare and makeup company, they have $1 billion exit that's at like a 4.7x multiple. And the breakdown of the deal is basically 800 million, out of which 600 million is cash, 200 million is shares of e.l.f. Beauty, and then
There's a 200 million earn out for the next 3 years.
yeah, based on how much they sell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Hailey's staying on as chief creative officer and head of innovation.
Yeah. Which makes
That makes sense. She
yeah.
really is like the reason it's selling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, they had $212 million in net sales over the last year, which puts them at like a 4.7x multiple. And in comparison, like some of the other celebrity beauty brands were at similar multiples. So like Kylie Cosmetics was at 6x and Fenty is around 5x.
Yeah. Although Kylie's Cosmetics, when they like, I think, didn't Kylie buy it back or something?
Yeah, she like sold 51% to Cody and then bought it back. I don't know. It was like something like that. But like at the time that she sold it, like that was the multiple.
Yeah. And really I think the thought process behind this acquisition is Rhode has been a direct-to-consumer business the entire time. They've always been selling on the website, and they have been wanting to expand into retail, and they have been planning to launch in Sephora. And e.l.f. is actually super huge in Ulta and Target, and so they will have the distribution channel for expanding into those stores as well, which is traditionally hard to get access to.
I feel like they're only expanding into Sephora because of the deal, right?
Yeah, like
I thought they were expanding to Sephora before the deal.
Like, I think they announced it like 2 days before, but there's no way it wasn't like part of the deal. Yeah.
I think it's even just like the manufacturing ability. Like, apparently, like, there's a lot of critiques on Reddit and stuff about her products being like too grainy or like going bad. And I'm not like a makeup expert, but I feel like some of the going bad aspect is also just like an e.l.f. has like the scale and the experience of like how to make makeup last like a really long time, how to pass like all these different regulations, created at scale. And like Hailey, I feel like some of her stuff was even out of stock, right? Like it would drop and it'd go out of stock, and it wasn't like obviously at the scale of what e.l.f. does. So Rhode benefits from like e.l.f.'s scale and expertise.
And this is very common in like, what is it, CPG goods. Like we see this also with like protein bars, snacks, with like Pepsi acquiring Siete and Poppy, and then like also like the new David protein bar has like a crazy valuation, and it'll
Have you
probably
guys tried them?
No.
I think they suck.
Oh, I heard that they're really good.
Yeah, my office
I know.
loves them.
Everyone's obsessed with them. Maybe I had a bit bad flavor.
But they have it's really hard to get your hands on them. Like they don't sell like in Costco's or any like normal places that you would go
They're
buy
on like
them.
TikTok.
Yeah. That's like the only place you can buy them. Like
But
it's direct.
That's crazy.
Someone was okay. I feel like there's a ton of people starting consumer brands. Like I've met so many founders of consumer brands recently, and someone was explaining it to me, and I guess makes sense, but I hadn't thought about it much before. But they were like, the goal of all of these like consumer brands is to just have a bigger consumer brand acquire them.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
That does make sense.
But I feel like it's different than tech, where like a lot of tech companies see their own individual path towards IPO. Like they're not necessarily gunning for an acquisition.
Yeah.
Versus like an acquisition by like a major, like the Poppy Pepsi thing, that's like ideal outcome for them.
Yeah. It is all championed by someone who understands marketing super well, and they have like this breakout product that gets very popular on TikTok. Like it just seems to be a cycle these days where there's a product, it does well on TikTok, a bunch of people buy it, it's direct to consumer, and then they get acquired.
Yeah. I think like Harvard did this study where they found that 2/3 of people that purchase like beauty products find it from influencers, which is crazy.
That makes sense. I feel like that's how I find my products.
Yeah.
And then I think on e.l.f.'s end, they have seen a lot of growth. Like I think they've had 23 consecutive quarters of growth, but there are some doubts about their path forward because a large percent, I think like the majority of their products are manufactured in China, and they're getting hit with tariffs, and they had this announcement that they're increasing their products by $1, which for them is a lot because a lot of like e.l.f.'s makeup products are in the like under $10 range. And Rhode allows them to diversify in two ways, I think. One is like products that are made in Italy, so they're not all made in China. And then the other way is Rhode is like a more elevated brand, and e.l.f.'s base is really young, so they can like graduate into Rhode products, and they can keep like the consumer spend for more years of a woman's life.
Yeah.
Or men's, but like majority women.
Yeah, they're emerging as like what they call like a brand house.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
like
they have
LVMH or like even like is L'Oreal like that too?
They're like all like that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like for most of them, you just don't even realize who the parent company is. Because someone was explaining that how like a lot of people think it's like e.l.f. Cosmetics that acquired Rhode, but it's e.l.f. Beauty.
Yeah, and e.l.f. Cosmetics is its own sub brand.
Yeah, and
with
there's
its own
like
distribution.
other brands under e.l.f. Beauty. Like I can't. Do you guys remember the names? But they're like more elevated brands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's Keys Soul Care, which is Alicia Keys' brand, and then Naturium, which is skincare, and they acquired Naturium for $355 million in 2023. So they're trying to build like I think a clean beauty multi-brand conglomerate type of thing, which is, I guess like I don't really see another example of this in the makeup and skincare space. Like Too Faced, Benefit, they're all separate brands. Like we haven't really seen a conglomerate brand of this scale outside of like maybe like L'Oreal, which then spans like more than makeup and skincare. But yeah.
And L'Oreal's the biggest player.
Yeah.
By far.
By far.
Yeah.
I guess there's not been like a new player, and I would say e.l.f. is relatively a newer player. Like L'Oreal has been around for a while. Estee Lauder's been around for a while. Or I guess they're the same thing.
I don't really know how they all work.
Yeah, I also don't understand the market map. But I mean, e.l.f. has been doing really well. Their stock's up like 80% on the announcement, which is crazy.
Yeah, it is insane.
The one question I have is like, with like what you said with the Harvard Business Review being 2/3 built by celebrity brands, like in this day and age, is it possible to build a beauty brand without being a celebrity?
I think it would be tough. I think you would need like celebrity backing in some sense, like the way Alex Earl is doing like Sip Margs right now. You would need like something similar to that, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think you can. You just need like really good influencer marketing, and like without that, I don't think there's a way.
It like all I'm saying is that it seems like the influence of social media and then specifically TikTok in the most recent years have almost created like a bigger barrier to getting these products to be successful.
For sure. And I feel like one of the things that I was reading about e.l.f. is they were one of the first beauty brands to embrace TikTok and start like marketing and posting on it. And so they won a lot of that early crowd, and probably why they have like those younger Gen Z people on it is because they leaned into that. And I feel like all of these people, probably starting with Kylie Jenner, but like all of these people afterwards, they have created a new market that didn't exist before. And it's really cool to see.
Yeah, like I remember when Maybelline's Sky High mascara went viral on TikTok. It was like so viral for months, and it's still the mascara I use because I just like heard so much about it, and I feel like you go to like a Sephora or something to get your mascara, and if you've heard about one like 10 different times,
You'll get it.
yeah, and it's like I don't really know.
Yeah. And sometimes like I feel like I don't even realize that things are being marketed to me. So Hailey Bieber has this YouTube series called like Who's in My Bathroom, and she basically just brings a bunch of other celebrities and they like talk about things. And until I was reading about this, I didn't realize that whole series is produced by the co-founder of Rhode. And it's like all just like so circular because he owns this media house that produces all of her like YouTube and documentaries and things like that. And I honestly didn't even realize it was selling Rhode to me. I just watched it because I liked Hailey Bieber. But it's just like it's kind of going back to like how many touch points you have with someone. And then when you see them launch something and you want to live their life, you're like, oh, cool, I'll just get that and I'll be like them.
Yeah.
And it like actually works.
Cool. Well, that being said, congrats to the Rhode team on a well-deserved acquisition. Our next segment is around AI-enabled roll-ups. This is quite different than our normal news segments because it's not really coming out of a specific news story this week, but it's just been a general trend that we've seen in the market recently, where VCs are looking into how to acquire a bunch of small businesses and then use AI software to get the margins that they would normally get from a traditional VC investment. And the reason why this has been super controversial, honestly, is because roll-ups are a PE-backed model where normally you have a bunch of different businesses, you buy them for their customers, and then you implement some sort of software so you can take advantage of the gains in cutting human labor. You can buy these businesses from 1 to 3x on EBITDA and then boost and sell it off at 5 to 10x EBITDA, which is a classic PE model. But with AI being so big, the new question is, hey, will AI deliver returns greater than this, closer to what VCs expect?
Yeah. And like traditionally, I guess going back to examples of what a traditional PE roll-up might look like, I think one of the most famous ones is like the parking example, where they started by buying a parking lot and then bought a bunch of them and put in software, and now it's this like insane business. I don't know if you guys know what the margins are on it, but
Metropolis.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, they're nearly worth $5 billion.
But like they traditionally do businesses that people don't want to get into. So like HVACs, laundromats, like dental care places, kind of those are the types of businesses that are traditionally targeted.
Yeah. And a lot of times, depending on the type of business, you might make like one larger acquisition. So like, let's say you find a dental practice that's like very tech forward, has like their own software that works really well. You might buy that at a higher valuation multiple and then buy like 5 smaller add-ons of dental practices that you see as like tech backward, because then you have like a clear arbitrage opportunity of just like implementing the best practices of one company and all the other companies. And it's a lot of people are even doing it on their own these days. Like I feel like we have friends that want to like acquire a company and make it AI enabled just like on their own.
Yeah. People forget that small businesses employ half of the American workforce and contribute 44% of the US GDP. I personally love small businesses. I work for a company that their like whole mission is growing small businesses, whatever. We don't need to get into it. But the basic idea is that there's so many businesses out there that are super fragmented. And how do you kind of aggregate these fragmented spaces rather than and get the kind of size that you'll see out of startups in the Valley? And so PE has been doing this for a long time. I remember I interviewed for a car wash startup once.
I remember that.
Yeah. I was like, what are your plans? And they were like, we're going to hire one more engineer and then we're going to build the software. And I was like trying to understand like what the goal was here. And then I started to realize, oh my God, I'm interviewing for a PE software rollup. Yeah. Because like what's going to happen is once they make the software and get enough people to adopt it, they're just going to start buying a bunch of car washes. And I was like, wow, this is cool. Not what I want for my job, but this is cool. And then I moved on. And
if you think about like the company I work for, that's like a marketplace for dietitians, it's obviously not a PE roll up, but it's like the same aspect of like it's a software company, and those best practices get employed by every single dietitian on the platform. Mm-hmm. Versus if they all had their individual own private practices, then there'd be like all these inefficiencies and added costs that get like centralized.
Like when you're looking at markets that like would be a good fit, the biggest thing that they're looking for is like highly fragmented people. So people that are running their small businesses that don't have like you said, like a bunch of dietitians, but they're not aggregated in any sort of way. It's growing. It's something that people want. And then at least the product that they're selling or the service that they're selling. And then the biggest thing is human knowledge work. The biggest OpEx cost is human labor, because if you can automate human labor away, you can bring down your OpEx quite a bit. Versus if your biggest cost is like COGS, like for example, like materials or something like that, that's really hard to bring down your margins.
Yeah, you basically want to be like asset light. But like high human involvement, essentially.
Yeah.
And like also you want the businesses that you're going after to be high revenue, but low margin in like the existing state.
So yeah, that is the normal thesis for any software enabled roll up. But where AI comes in is that there's this vision that LLM based tools will drive significant margin recapture for these industries, and that they'll give returns greater than what we see now in the normal software enabled startups. And this is the point that's been of friction between people. Is AI going to really truly cut the costs that you think it will? Let's say like a VC like expects a 10x return, which by the way, they normally expect 100x return, but let's say like it's 10x at least. You need to I think you need to increase your EBITDA by 4x. And so will you be able to reduce your human labor that much? It depends on the industry and like how much of the cost that human labor is.
Yeah. Also, from what we've seen from VCs, they are doing it a little differently than how PE companies have traditionally gone about it, because they're more investing in like small tech businesses. Like you see them in like, I think it was GC, and they were talking about how they invested in like the legal company and led their Series A.
Euda, E-U-D-I.
Yeah.
Eudia? AI-enabled legal services?
Yeah. And they basically were like, we think this is going to be like a key asset class, and so we're getting into it. And a lot of VCs have said this, because like Thrive Capital created like Thrive Holdings, which is basically specifically meant to develop startups and like do these AI-powered roll-ups. And so while they aren't taking a bet with like their normal funds, and they still are having like normal funds doing normal VC things, all of them are also taking a bet on this approach as well.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that this is because a lot of their returns haven't been good, or do you think it's just because they see an opportunity?
I think they're hedging their risk. Like, I think if AI truly becomes what we think AI 2027 said, where we reach this like intelligence singularity, at this point, like what's really easy is to make the software. What's really hard is to get the customers. And so if you can just buy the customers and then force those startups to use your SaaS, then you hedge against that. So like you're obviously still invest in the SaaS GPT wrappers type of players, but then also invest in like the roll-ups in the case that AI 2027 truly becomes real.
Yeah, I also think to an extent like software will get commoditized and anyone can build anything. So then it's like, what do you have? You have the data, you have your like relationships with people, you have the customers, like Maya said. And so I feel like the software might not be as important in the future, and like we definitely probably won't see like the growth and returns at scale that we've seen in the past. Even though if we continue to see that.
Yeah, some of these businesses also are like for example, car washing is like AI is not gonna like automate away car washing. So.
Yeah,
but like if AI robotics truly takes off, like it could.
I don't know if that'll be in the time horizon that their returns on this are gonna be, but I guess anything's possible.
Well,
but their returns I feel like are like on 20-year time frames,
or like even 10-year
20 year.
No, they're on like 10-year time frames.
like 10 to 20.
Oh, I
thought
VC funds were on 10 years.
VC funds are on like 7 years. Like growth PE might be a longer time frame, but like I feel like these types of buyouts are definitely not on 20-year time frames.
I think there's just been a general blend between VC and PE. Like you have growth VC, which is like not really VC anymore, like we see with like the CVF fund that we just talked about with Grammarly. Like that's not truly
but that's
VC.
not growth VC.
Sorry, that's sorry, I don't mean growth VC. I mean like a growth stage arm of a VC fund.
Oh, okay.
Like Excel, Sequoia, GC, they all have these like other funds that are not VC, like your traditional VC investment, seed investment type of funds. And you see like the lines being blurred between the traditional PE firms and the traditional VC funds.
I guess it's like interesting though, because at least from my perspective, I'm not like an expert. It seems more like VCs trying to encroach on PE's market than the other way around, which makes me think like VC sees like PE stable returns over like years, and the fact that like PE much more consistently makes money.
Yeah,
that's true. I feel like that also has been a conversation that a lot of people are talking about, like, is VC dead or is it not dead?
And it's like obviously not dead, but it's also like if you look at the actual returns, like there's like very few funds
that are actually doing
better than the S&P. Yeah, it's like 10% or something is like actually beats the S&P, which is crazy.
Which is funny because there's actually like a huge Twitter beef recently because Chamath was like talking about how all of his VC funds were in like the top quartile. I have no idea, but he was just getting roasted. I feel like he's
been getting roasted. I was gonna say he's been getting roasted on X.
Yeah. Other side of this story that I would say is a critique on this is, are we entering like service as a software, kind of similar to what we saw with Cruise, where like you actually didn't truly automate everything. Like you had so many humans behind the scenes actually doing the thing, and so you were spending a lot of your money on that, and then over time you were going to like automate it. Or even like that little robot that delivered food on Berkeley campuses where it was just someone driving the entire
people
time.
In the background.
Yeah. Like any time you're building an AI enabled tool, like you do, especially if you're like illegal like services type of thing, I'm sure you have a lawyer in the background checking everything.
Yeah, also like if VC is just trying to encroach on like PE's philosophy, like the way that PE achieves the returns they do is like by cutting headcount, cutting corners. Like for example, the dentist example, like I always make sure that I'm not going to a PE-backed dentist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they'll literally just tell you things are wrong with you.
Oh,
like at the end of
check my dentist.
Yeah, I mean at the end of the day,
well,
like
I go to Annika's dentist, so I'm covered.
Like literally while I was at Bain in the PE group, like one of my managers was like, oh yeah, make sure like all these things in life like that you're going to are not PE back, because they like secretly own half of America, and like they just cut costs and corners as much as possible. And so it's like VC's kind of saying like, instead of cutting corners, we're gonna like bring technology into the mix. But it's like I feel like they're also gonna just end up
it's no different
corners. Yeah, it is no different. And it's like PE also has always brought technology into it, right? Mm-hmm. Like I saw this funny tweet the other day that was like, if you have a small business that's successful and you want to get bought out by PE, the first thing you should do is delete your website. And I was like, what? And then I was reading the thread and it was like, yeah, there's like all these like lazy PE. I don't know if this is true. Like I'm obviously not in the industry, but they're like, there's all these like lazy-ish PE analysts that'll like try to find like the next like mom and pop shop they should acquire, and like the biggest sign they'll look for is like, oh, this has like revenue but no website, like we'll just make them a website. And so they were like, yeah, I'm like,
wait, our friend literally did this for a company at Berkeley in college.
Really? Oh, like they made it like PE like worthy or something.
What are you talking about? Oh, like, yeah Yeah, like he actually is in finance, and there was like a local restaurant, and he like made a website and like helped them with marketing, but it was just like a good deed he did because they were like gonna die during COVID otherwise.
Yeah. So they're just looking
But
for
he was
those.
just doing it
No, yeah,
altruistically.
yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, the last thing I'll say is that there's another strategy to all of this, which is not going the full like buyout route, but instead of going what they call a synthetic software roll-up, where you build the SaaS, but then instead of charging for the SaaS, you just do a rev share agreement where like you split the revenue gain from the SaaS being enabled. Some people in the industry have said, hey, maybe VCs should be investing in this, specifically AI-powered ones, so that instead of having the traditional SaaS business where it's hard to get people to adopt because you have to pay money to use the SaaS, you just share the revenue gain, and then more people will actually adopt it. Like more mom and shops will do it because like it's access to net new revenue that they'll get instead of like having to pay.
So you're still investing in the software, but the money you make is based on the revenue gains of the company you're implementing it in?
Yeah. So like
Okay.
if I give this software to the car wash people, right? Like if I make a car wash software and I give it to, and this shop implements it and they see a 30% uplift, then I take like 20% of that home.
I feel
Instead
like that's
of-
almost just like the Graham Relief funding model,
Yeah.
where
It
it's
is.
like a percent of
Yeah.
their revenue. It's kind of hard to isolate like what is due to the software.
I don't know if this is going to be a crazy pod prediction, but I feel like this could be the new way we see like SaaS emerge, or the new pricing structure. Because if software is truly that cheap, right, or
Yeah.
like that easy to get, then again, it's all about who has the customers, who owns the customers.
Yeah.
And so maybe people will be like, no, like I'll only give you 10% of the revenue if I implement this.
Well, can't like individual people in that case just like do that and make that deal directly? Because if it really is that easy to build software and anyone's able to do it, then couldn't an individual do that, go into like some type of company and strike that deal?
But
I mean,
feel
this
like
is what like
individuals are doing that.
that is what contractors are
Yeah.
to a certain extent.
It's also like the entire craze of like MBAs acting as PEs and buying businesses and then like redoing them basically. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a lot of tech people that do it too and are just like less loud about it than the MBAs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, that wraps up our episode.
Bye.
That was such a-
Hanika's like, let's leave.
She's like, I'm done with this.